Just your average parent trying to do right by my kids. Never thought I'd deal with something like this. It was a regular Tuesday afternoon. The kids' toys were scattered everywhere. Then there was a knock at the door.
Tiff and the Punisher, they won't back down, screaming out loud in every town. Stand against the system that's gone insane, fighting like lions, don't feel no pain. Abolish CPS, their rally cry. No kids for cash, we won't comply. Make parenting great, let's take a stand. Tiff and the Punisher, hand in hand.
They are taking our kids every day. I shout them in and no one has a thing to say. For those who have been isolated, don't be worried, you have a voice today. So listen up everyone, here is the story. Child Protective Services is real. CPS is what they call it. They want our kids because it fills a lot of people's wallet. We all think it won't be us. We say when they come we will be so tough. It all sounds good when there's no one to take them. But when they come, your voice gets to breaking. Stay calm, step away. CPS ain't taking no one today. We are educated. Stay calm, step away. CPS, you need to leave. I know the tricks up your sleeves. You can't do what you're trying to do. We have done our homework. Don't do a damn thing without a warrant. You no longer will steal our kids this way. Tiff and the Punisher have come for the calling. They are giving us the CPS warning. Their voice is loud and clear. We stop losing our kids this year. Tiff wants to fight the entire planet. She is tired of our kids being taken, God damn it. She's been fighting CPS for 30 years, bringing children home from this disgusting mess. The Punisher is screaming out loud, abolish CPS and tear it down. I want all our kids to come back. Look at all those kids, pictures held up like thin tags. Together we are stronger than we need. We will tear down CPS with high speed. We will do so much being together. Birds of a feather flock together. So watch out, CPS, here we come. Picking you one by one. We promise to bring back the family and prosecute the caseworkers unhandily. So give us back the kids you have taken. Tiff and the Punisher sending you all on a vacation. The one with bars in the windows and the only games you play are old Nintendos. Corruption in courts, here we come. We won't stop until it's done. You judges need to learn what you stand for. This is Tiff and the Punisher warrior, and we cry out to all of you out there. We need support for a cause that many don't care. All children are being stolen way too often. So CPS, we plan on doing the stopping. Stop.
Stop. Well, that was a little dilemma at the beginning there, Tiff. But we made it.
Yeah,
Again,
that's all.
once again, we've come. Yeah. Well, this internet thing is killing me. You know, there was a point in time. Do you remember the days of the Commodore 64? Remember that days? Or the original Apple when we used to play the Oregon Trail game?
No.
Don't try to keep your age limited by not answering that question. Do you remember the days of the floppy disk?
Yes.
Yes, we had a floppy disk, 3 1/4 inch disk. I think it held like a megabyte, maybe. No, not even a megabyte.
Yeah, it
Byte?
wasn't
I
that
don't know.
big.
Anyway, yeah, I remember that office had was like a building.
Yeah.
That was the size of his computer, and
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 so
all
was
that
the
thing did
printer.
was like right, yeah, yeah. Like when the printer was going off, mine was an Air Force brat. So when the printer was going off, you thought like a B-50 something. But it was just some sort of document that said "hi" on it. Like I remember we were, we were the first people. We were the first people in our neighborhood at Offutt Air Force Base to get a VCR. We were the first people to have a VCR. Let me tell you something. I'll never forget this day. My father comes. Me and my brother. There's a hill out in back of our house at Offutt. And it was like one of the only hills in the right. So when we got like snow, people would come from every miles away to come and sled there because it was like a 2-foot hill. But I'll never forget it. My dad comes outside. He's like, Norman, Darren, get inside. And dad, back in the days when dads could yell at their kids, when they, you were like, we're in trouble. So we go inside and, of course, everybody in the neighborhood, this is the days when everybody played together and everything too, like they all come, they're all looking in the windows like, what's going on in there? They're in trouble. My dad had Raiders of the Lost Ark and VHS set right up on the TV. And we had a VCR, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And, well, we watched it in warmth with hot cocoa and watched it over and over and over while the kids in the neighborhood looked through the window and watched from there. But that was the first, we were the first one, and it was a long time. Like we were considered rich, because we had a VCR. And I don't know, maybe we were. I don't know. I don't think so. We lived on base. My parents worked a lot. But yeah, that was it. Like, and these are things and stories that even our kids, they can't tell these stories anymore because they're just given so much stuff. You know what I mean? Like that was a big freaking deal to get a VCR. And people look at it now as, like even a DVD, what's a DVD player? You know what I mean? But even, like the things that kids are given now, they don't appreciate, you know what I mean? Like there's no appreciation. So then when that transforms into CPS coming and taking your kids, it's almost like these kids are getting here, let's try out these other parents too, like, and let's see who's better for you, and who's, like, what your other parents were, and what they were like, like, I think it's ridiculous the fact that you as a parent can't go to visitation and bring your child a gift. You're not buying your child. Like, for instance, our daughter, whenever we went to the store, she always got something. Didn't matter what it was. Like, when we went to the store every day, I would get Nina something. You know what I mean? Whether it was a teddy, whatever she wanted in the store, that was, obviously, in relativity of whatever. But, like a little bear. But they said, we can't, we can't do that. We can't any longer bring her gifts because we're buying her, it's like bribing her. And we're like, what do you, that's her regular life. Like, this is her regular life now, like, that we live. So how is that changing anything? But it doesn't matter. But yet that foster family could do whatever they want. They could take her to Disney, could do all of these things. And it's just, that's fine. But that's not bribing. And then, they can do whatever they want. And then, so that all being said, that's why it's so important, or so I thought, the whole bonding study is important. The courts see that you do have a bond with your child when they initially take them. To find out the state of New Hampshire doesn't allow bonding studies. So my friends that just went to
Did you have,
court
oh yeah,
that
what
they
happened
wanted a
with
bonding
them?
study done. So they found the mother fully guilty of neglect, which was completely asinine. And then they found the father with pretty much nothing. But so where this one's going now. Now they're going to make them split up. They're going to do the failure to protect thing, and so on and so forth. Another failed the drug test thing. It's funny. The baby had, I guess, traces of drugs in its stool, but yet her hair follicles shows no drugs, and neither does her urine screen. But yet they go by what was supposedly in the baby's stool, and that's going to be what is, what made her get the full neglect charge. Completely
That's
ridiculously
bullshit.
stupid. Yeah, absolute bullshit. So how does that, but this judge has allowed it. This judge is allowing this to go through like this. But yet the father gets found with nothing, no charges, no nothing. And because he was seen driving his son to school without a license, they're not going to allow him to be a player in the game, and nor can his mother. So their family has been wiped out of the whole, kinship thing and all of that stuff because they don't have a big family. So now that's done, and now they're stuck with this foster family that they're involved with that now wants to have a child, which originally wanted to, help out with reunification and help the family, which seems to be the normal here. Seems to be like, until those papers are signed and those bonuses are come rolling in, they're always about, well, I mean, that makes total sense because you don't get the bonuses if reunification isn't the goal, right? Like, that's it. So they got to say that. And so now these people are like, you know what? I think we want an adoption. And it's exactly like our case was, where at the beginning, the moms are like best friends. They're like best buds. Like, I'm taking care of these kids. We're going to do this together. And then out of nowhere, I'm going to have to distance myself from you. And, like, so, very, 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 very close woman friend of mine, very close, wants to take one of these foster courses, to become a foster family, not to become one, obviously, but she wants to find out what the hell they're teaching them in these courses, because this seems to be what the playbook is in all these cases. So it's got to be the norm. It's got to be what they're teaching them. It's got to be what they're talking about. It has to be, because everybody, it seems to be the same damn story.
Well, if you go to Child Welfare Gateway and
Mm-hmm.
type in your state, it will pull
Mm-hmm.
up all the policies and stuff for foster care, kinship, all that stuff. I was on the Virginia one today.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, it's a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
information.
yeah, it is, and it's just getting worse and worse. But who's writing this information? You know who writes this stuff? the directors of
Well,
right? Or don't the directors of these write these?
well, the ones that one is from the federal government. So I forgot the man's name that RFK appointed to be the director of social services, but he should be now writing them.
Okay, but Tiff,
So
what does the Constitution say about who writes what?
it's the people. We have to approve this stuff. We're supposed to be voting on this stuff.
Right. So a director can't just write up CPS rules and put them into place as law or as fact, as a matter of fact, right? Like they can't just do this and expect us. We don't need to follow it. Doesn't the Constitution say, well, number one, the only people that can make a law is Congress. Otherwise, it's statutes and codes and things like that, right?
And those aren't laws.
Say
And
it.
even I should have brought my paperwork in here, but oh, wait a minute. I might have some right here. Hold on a minute. It
Oh,
even said code, statutes, regulations, ordinance, and policies are not laws. That's exactly what the Supreme Court has said.
mm-hmm.
I don't have it in here.
Which means, right? Which means what?
That you don't have to
What
follow
is
them, especially
right?
if they contradict the Constitution.
You're right, which they all do because we have the right to parent on our own, whatever. So that being said, that makes all of this that they've come up with BS and illegal, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
just it's that simple. Where's the where it's this is just if it's just based on codes and the stuff that they're writing that's illegally written, then there's another reason to have my VNA right there. You know,
Yeah.
that is we don't codes and statutes and all that shit is meant for the government to follow, not for us.
I'm going to see if I got
Laws
it
are
in my
made for
phone.
us to follow. You know, you
And
got
there's
something on your
only
phone.
there I got 600 and some pages. There's really only two laws in the United States. Your state constitution, which is your state
Yeah.
laws, and the Constitution, which overrides state laws, and it trumps everything.
Mm-hmm. And there's really, if you really want to break it down, the only two rules or laws that you are supposed to be following is don't kill someone and don't mess with someone else's shit. That's it.
Do no harm
That's all
and
you gotta
destroy
do.
no property.
Not kill or harm anybody, and don't. Right. Exactly. That's it. That's what. Which is what everything that we've done is supposedly based on, or that's what it was drawn from. Now, obviously, there's been amendments and there's been things that have changed, so it's hard to follow up the chain of bullshit to see how things have followed along the way. But it's all illegal because we, the people, if we didn't vote to change this shit, then it doesn't matter.
Nope.
So that's I've just been thinking about that today. Like this is just because we're all about. Well, you have really incited this. I really do put this on you. The whole constitutional argument in the family. I do. Well, I mean, honestly, was really talking about this stuff until you come along. Like people were talking about no warrant and all this, but you kind of like paved the way for the full on like, yo, this is BS. Constitution is the land, the supreme law of the land, and the Clearfield Doctrine, and all that stuff points right to that, and we've drifted away from this, and the further we get away, and the Gunner's right, the whole cursive writing thing. What is the reason for them not to allow cursive writing in school anymore? Why? Because they can't read these documents.
Well, they are bringing back cursive.
Like Yeah. Well, they're bringing back Brenda too. It's tonight. What day is today? We were bringing back Brenda was last night. So Thursday and Friday she'll be back here at 9 o'clock. So make sure you guys check that out. But yeah, they are bringing back cursive.
Yes, they are. They're bringing it back.
That's
I think it's going to start again in 3rd grade.
Oh well, I think that's when we did. We played the clarinet and learned how to write in cursive. I don't understand the whole point
I
of the
didn't play no
clarinet.
clarinet.
You guys didn't get the clarinet 3rd grade? Or not the clarinet? I'm sorry,
No.
the recorder. You guys
Oh,
didn't have. You know the recorder what I'm talking about, right? The little thing you go. It's like a
yeah,
fancy whatever it is. But yeah,
blue.
it cost $3. Yeah, and it was awful. I felt so bad. So the kids that couldn't have the $3, they had like the brown broken one and everything. The kids that could had the nice fancy new white one. You know what I mean? You're like, really? You're gonna give these kids like it's got like one hole in it, there's nothing else for them to use, you know. The school janitor just made it, you know what I mean? So it's like yeah, just cutting them as they're trying to it's so sharp from the you know. But that's a reason, to get CPS involved because your kids' fingers are full of splinters from the homemade recorder that you had. But anyway, um no, so all of this stuff we we just have to Gunners what Gunners put together is really good, and I think he's barking up the right tree. I happen to know the guy that wrote the thing, and like he's a solid dude. Of course it was Gunner because he's doing pro se, but his sidelines are solid with all of us. So everybody should definitely check some of that stuff out because that's his avenues that he's going up. He's going up what you've been teaching, what we've all been learning, and and we're gonna try to make a go at this. Somebody that was helping out Gunner write this stuff. He figured out how to go around Rooker Feldman, so that was huge. So they went around that. So that was giant, to get that into the federal courts. But this constant now, we got the floodgates open, Tiff. So we know how to get in there with this stuff. So it's time to fire in the hole because you're the Constitution Queen.
I sure am.
I mean, that's
And the good thing
yes,
is
you are.
that Trump gave us back the Constitution. Now we have to teach people how to use it because, of course, we got these judges that believe this shit doesn't apply to them. But at the rally, I had the Virginia Constitution in a
Yeah.
book, and it clearly states that when anybody takes office here, they not only have to uphold our state constitution, they have to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And they swear an oath to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yep. I've
now it's time.
been saying. I was saying for the longest. It's time to actually blow them out of the water because I've been saying this for a long time, and I got this from an old man. I don't remember his name, but that's where I learned that from. Because when these stupid courts that didn't have any authority to rule on the Constitution, supposedly, the way that you could get them nicked is take your state constitution, which they have to rule by because they're obligated by the state that they're in. So find the part of the Constitution that matches your state constitution and then use that against them. And then they have no choice but to answer it. But now, now, I mean, we're coming. CPS, we are coming, and we are, we're blowing the doors off this. I was talking to some people today. I think it's time that, we heard for a long time about how to, do the filings against CPS into the IRS. Let's get on that. Let's get people on the misuse of funds. Let's fire this thing at all cylinders, all sides. Because if we're gonna sink this ship, we need every piece of this. But let's sink this bastard. You know what I mean? Because like we said, either all of us are gonna go to jail or to death camps when this is over with if we can't, or we're gonna come out on the other side and be fine and live in happily ever after. That's the truth to the matter here. Really, if we can't do right now, like what we've started, and then we're in deep shit at the end of it. Whenever the end is, especially if this next election we lose, the momentum and the people, the type of people we have in office, which I don't think we should. I mean, there's a lot of good people that are there now, and people know, like they're seeing that, and I think that the group in the right now too is also seeing that the people have had enough, you know. But we got to keep talking. We got to get to be that sizable group that we make the difference. Like, let us sway the election. Let the people of CPS that have been affected by CPS sway that election. I mean, what 176 million people voted for each side, right? Last election or something like that. We could be 100 million strong. People affected by CPS. We'd be 100 million people strong. That right there will make us a legitimate argument, a legitimate claim, and people will listen. But we got to get together, and we gotta be together. We got to be a solid group. I mean, that's the part.
Um, I read, because it's a book, it's not the original, but the very first page of the Virginia Constitution, it says all men are born free and independent of the government.
Okay, that's now I know you, but you say that the United States Constitution trumps that, but
It does.
that's a pretty solid. So that's a pretty solid statement right there to say that you're not part of. That's huge.
That's what the Virginia Constitution says, the very first part of it. All men are born free and independent of the government.
Wow, that's huge. That's ginormous.
Now remember,
We need to figure
4
out
of
how
the
we can do
people that signed the Constitution came from Virginia. So they wrote the Virginia Constitution.
Yeah. How many people signed the Constitution? 27? 26?
I think it's 26.
What's in there?
I don't have one in
Hey,
here.
John, I will. My phone. You know what's going on in my life, John Stansfield. You know what's going on. I will call you after the
How
show.
many founders signed the
As
Constitution?
you know, the phone is dead. Phone is mobile today. Try to get a new phone. That was a mess because it's just been terrible. But yeah,
Oh,
I
we
think
was
it is. I
both
think it's
wrong.
23. Oh, okay. How many?
39.
39. We're closer than not. I mean, we were within the ballpark range.
55 delegates were there, but only 39 of them signed it.
All right.
Hold on.
Since we're even talking about this, yep.
How many signers were from Virginia? Three signers. So I was close.
You were close. Work.
George
But see, that's what we check
Washington,
our facts. Oh, GW.
John Blair, George Washington, and George Mason.
No,
Three of them were from Virginia.
I don't know. I bet you that's the mason jar guy. I bet it is. I bet you 10 cents that's the George Mason is the Mason Jar Company. I bet you 10 cents.
Yeah, I believe you. It could be.
I bet you we will. I'm gonna find out. This computer works. But here, I wanted to ask you this so we can get some explanation because you are the queen.
Okay.
What is the difference? Declaration of Independence, or not Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights, Constitution. What's the difference?
Okay, so first, when the Constitution, first it was the Federalist Papers, right? And that wasn't working.
Mhm.
So they said, we got to come up with something
Okay.
better, something more for the federal government to oversee the colonies. So they did the Constitution, and actually, I got to just tell you this: the way when the papers went out for each colony to sign, they were not
Mm-hmm.
written like the First Amendment, Second Amendment. The way they came back and were ratified, that's how they fell into place. I didn't learn this until I took my course. But
Wait a
anyway,
minute. What do you mean?
so like they wrote up this whole Constitution, and as each one of them started coming, like the First Amendment, that came in
Mhm.
first. And it didn't go out first. They all went out at the same time. So however they
Okay.
came back is how they fell in line into the Constitution. Which, however they were ratified is how they fell into line. So they just wrote
All right.
it
So the
and said,
fifth
let's
wasn't
ratify
necessarily the
them.
fifth. It was could have been right.
Right. It
Gotcha.
just came back to fifth. So,
Okay.
I think it was John Hancock that said, somebody said we need to add more. We need something that gives more protection to the Constitution and to the people. So apparently they argued about it for a couple years. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so then they took the Virginia Constitution. They took a couple of the constitutions that were in the colonies and made the Bill of Rights, which gave us more protection. And actually, the reason they wrote it was because it is a restraining order against the government. That's how it came about. Some wanted it,
So what?
some said we didn't need it, but we got it.
Right. So the Constitution deals in a lot of our freedoms for the government and stuff, but the Bill of Rights is actually a protection for us ourselves from the government. Correct? That's the way to look at it.
Correct.
Because in the Constitution it talks about electing the president. It talks about all these things, right? Like, but the Bill of Rights
Right.
just deals with the basic essentials
All
and
right.
fundamentals of us as our rights. Okay.
And
Now,
then the
what does the Bill
14th,
of Rights say
about what?
about being a parent? You know, I'm just asking. I don't know, so I'm asking you. Do you know
Well,
what the
here
Bill of
it
Rights
is.
says about being a parent?
Well, it coincides with the Constitution. The only thing they took out was like the senator stuff, the president stuff,
Mhm.
all the oaths. They took all that out and made it the Bill of Rights, right? So the Bill of
Mhm.
Rights is the first 10 of the Constitution. So they coincide.
Ah, okay, okay, all right.
So one is the Constitution that protects all Americans, and then the Bill of Rights tells the government these are their rights and you can't do anything about it. You can't take them away. You can't tell them you can't do anything. So they coincide together. Pretty much so they couldn't be construed, because if you read the Constitution, it says nothing in this Constitution can be construed to say anything other than what it says. And then the Declaration of Independence, you got to use that too, because all three of these documents are like one big book, right? Because it says all men are created equal. And this is where the affidavit comes in, because it says this affidavit is the affidavit of truth, right? So when they wrote up this whole thing to the king, they were telling him their truths, whether he liked it or not, and they had to accept it. And I have all three. I got big ones. I even have the Emancipation and approximate whatever. I get tongue tied. The Emancipation and Proclamation. I can't hear you. Turn your mic on.
Said the Emancipation Proclamation was to free the slaves, correct?
Yes. And that's important too, because child support is slavery, taking children
Mm-hmm.
is slavery, because you're taking them
Mm-hmm.
from parents and putting them like the slaves' families were torn apart
Mm-hmm.
and put with
Oh
other
yeah.
families. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
It's just modern day
I mean, this was
slavery.
people. Right. Well, what people don't realize is that this was one of the reasons, the main reason that we came over here was to get away from the kings being able to breed our bloodlines out. To get back that when you got married to your wife, the king's men couldn't come down from the hills and rape the shit out of your wife and make sure that they get her pregnant and not you. Like they get, like this was given to them as part of their land of the nobility. This is what it was about. It was preserving their own family, keeping their families and their families together so that they, and people don't realize, like it wasn't just about running out and going to the new world and some property. No, they were trying to protect themselves from the atrocities of their government and what they were doing to their families. That was it. That was what it was all about. So now, fast forward 300 years, and look, they're doing the same shit.
Well, it's a
Same
little
thing.
bit longer than that. Actually, this started in like
Well,
1200s.
right. 1666 is when we started human trafficking, they say. But yeah, no, absolutely. With what the kings and what they were doing over there. But you're saying that we came over here in the 1200s?
No, 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 no. Back in the 1200s, it's like 1216 or something. It's some crazy number that the people were starting to say, we're not having this anymore. Right. So then the people started doing pretty much what our Constitution says. Right. It just took them to the 1700s to get it on paper.
Well, they didn't have paper yet. They were still writing things on rocks
Well,
and things
that's
like
true.
that. Oh
But
man,
like
that's
I'm
funny
saying, it
stuff.
took them from the 1200s to the 1700s
Right.
to get it on paper and make it a legit contract. But it starts way back then. And that's why I tell people they really need to buy the book Behind the Bill of Rights. Because until you
Mm-hmm.
learn the history of where our rights really come from, you can never fully understand everything that happened from the 1200s to now. That's one of my favorite books. I've read it 3 times.
Behind the Bill of Rights, you said?
Behind the Bill of Rights. It's on Amazon.
Okay.
Let me see if I can pull it up. The book Behind the Bill of Rights.
Well, we're packing it in today, guys. We are learning us some history. But this is all
This is what
important.
it looks.
This is all important.
That's what it looks like.
Oh yeah. Look. Yeah, looks good.
I love this book.
I've been yeah. Let me
Oh,
break into mine.
and you can even buy it. Oh, Darren, if you want it, you better buy it now because there's only one left.
Oh, come on. Maybe I should start that ad on my book too. One left. But I've been reading this one right
No,
here. Let me see.
hold on.
Can you see this? I'm gonna
No,
direct it properly.
go this way. What does it say?
Hold on, I'm trying.
Common law.
This
Where
is
did
the
you get
common
that?
law. Barnes and Noble. It says the common law changed America. The lectures that were given at the Lowell Institute in Boston, and subsequently published in 1880, created a buzz of excitement that enveloped the New England intellectual community. Over a century later, we can look back at the common law and still feel the same sense of excitement that our predecessors did, virtually undiminished by the tumult followed. But this just pretty much just basically tells you just fraud, malice, and intent. It has the theory of torts. It just breaks down what common law is about and what it. So let me see here. This tells you right here. Let me see. The devil. So, in the beginning of the first lecture, it was shown that the appeals of the early law were directed only to intentional wrongs. The appeal was far older form of procedure than the indictment, and may be said to have had as a civil aspect. It had double object of satisfying the private party for his loss and the king breach of the peace. On its civil side, it was rooted in vengeance. It was a proceeding to recover those compensations, at first optional, afterwards compulsory, by which wrongdoer bought the spear from his side. Whether as far as concerning the king, it had the same object of vengeance, directed to revenue. It does not matter, since the claim of the king did not enlarge the scope of the action. Let me see. This is good stuff because it talks about how it works down through the law and how we eventually broke away from the king, and that's what this was all about. Was satisfying the king. It's just good stuff. Check it out if you want to learn about it. But it's not as much as common law isn't like everybody. Everybody wants it. It's not as simple as it is, but we should be following under common law. That just says don't break it. You break it, you bought it. You kill it,
Yeah.
you go to jail. Pretty much, that's it. And that's it. It's very simple, and the rest of it's just leave us the hell alone. Like I just why we can't go through that with our life, I don't know. Especially our kids. The Bible says, don't learn from the book. Keep the book. If you want to learn what is right and what's God's way, you go to the animals. They'll teach you everything you need to know. What's the number one thing the animals do? They sure as shit defend their children to the last. You are not going to find a mama bear letting you take their cubs away from them. At all, ever. Any animal.
No.
Even a little gold, you know? Or a piranha, or eagle, anything. Anything with a nipple will come right after you. Except for us. Like, we just let someone with a badge come in and just take us away. Have my kid. No. No, 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 no. No more. People, I can't emphasize enough. I'm sure Tiff backs me on this statement. Do not let them get their hands on your child. They get their hands on your child,
No.
you lose. Your child will never come home. Do not let them get their hands on your child. You make sure that they're not spoken to at schools. You make sure that you let the schools know that they're not to be talked to without you. You put that on blast. We have the warning cards. We have all this stuff. Do not let them get in the game. Basically, you need to be playing offense as a parent, not defense. You need to be in the offensive mode, because the second CPS comes into your life and you're playing defense, you've lost. It's over, because they've got an open and a bunch of assholes ready to take your kids. That's just the facts. I'm not trying to be, like to break your spirits or any of that stuff. But that's just the facts. So knowing the Constitution, knowing your Bill of Rights, knowing to defend yourself against this stuff is because we can't always be there. We can't all afford these high-priced lawyers. We need to know what our rights are, so when they come there, you can stomp them right in the face with this shit. You stop them dead in their tracks. No way. You don't have the right to come in here without a warrant. Absolutely not. Get the hell out. No, you ruin your lack of due process. It's completely wrong. Don't you, my child. All of these things. I was never given adequate, so where I'm looking.
Counsel. Counsel.
Well, that too, but they didn't give you adequate notice. Counsel, of your your hearings or your trials that were coming up. Like if they didn't let you know within X amount of days, before your trial came up, if you and this
It's
isn't just like
supposed to be
notified on
10.
the phone. This is like you have to be 10 days.
It's
All
supposed to
right. So
be
if you weren't
10.
notified of your hearing, yeah. So 10 days. So if you were days of any of your hearings, that's failure of due process. That's it. That's a constitutional right that you enjoy and that you have. These people have to follow rules. Hold them to this.
Yeah.
You
And one
know,
of the things I said in my
let
rally was
good for you,
if they
Wetlands.
tell you that the Constitution doesn't apply, if you can't produce your evidence, if they're told to sit down and shut up, if you're told any of that, you smile, walk out of the courtroom, go to uscourts.gov, download criminal complaint forms and civil complaint forms, because I read somewhere that the minute they do that, they do levy war against the Constitution and it's treason.
That's sedition and treason. Correct. Absolutely. And you know what the penalty for that is?
Yeah,
Death.
death.
Yes. Check this out. Web
It's
says
death.
we have our kids back. They had them for 3.5 months. Check that out. That's awesome. That's a great.
Well,
That's
that's
so
good.
good. I'm glad for you guys. You know what? That's one in a gajillion, but that's awesome. And you know what? I know I saw you on the other show the other night, but you know what? If you guys, you're more than welcome to come on this one and share with us how you did it, what you did to make sure that you got your kids back. We'd love to have you come on Wet Plants and talk with us and let these people know. I mean, we're all listen. I don't care who is, what the name of it is, any of that shit. Whatever we got to do to get our kids back, let's do it. Let's join it. Let's sign it. Let's hear it. I don't care. We're not fame suckers here. We're not trying to be, the ones. No, we want to be the ones. All of us are going to be the ones. All of us together are going to be the ones. This isn't my channel, Tiff's channel. It's not Gunner's channel. It's not Danielle's. It's nobody's. It's all of ours. What we're building here is for all of us. So, Wet Plants, please come on the show, share with us what you did, even if it's just for a minute. You don't have to be on the whole thing. Uh, please. That's great. Good for you. I'm so glad. But here's the question: when you got your kids back, were they still? What were the?
Yeah,
What
that's the
what was the
question.
biggest? Right. What was the biggest um barrier that you get through when your kid came home after the 3.5 months? Like I was just on vacation for a month away from my family, and that was, you know what, even that coming home after being, 5 weeks, away is very strange when you walk back into the house and you haven't really talked to people, you haven't seen anybody, you haven't, had any communication. So that getting used to, I'm still not used to being home yet. I'm still not used to, where things are or what's happened because, life still happens, when you go on vacation. So, like you come home
It
and
says we caught them. She said we caught them in their lies and openly questioned it in court. We should have gone to trial. Wait a minute. But we should
yeah,
have gone to trial. We went through hell. Our kids that should have never been taken, they used our roommate being arrested to take them. See, that's some bullshit.
yeah, that's it right there. Prison rare gem. How are we doing? But that's Wet Plants. That's awesome. 3.5 months. You know what? I would take
That
it.
is
I
good.
would give my left. I would take my left ankle right now to give my left ankle. Usually, I would say something different, but that would be inappropriate. But I would give my left ankle to have only had to have my daughter be gone for 3.5 months because she's still not home. But we'll get her back.
My
We'll get her.
12-year-old is
We're coming.
broken. She has zero respect for
Mm-hmm.
me. My newborn is
Yep. Developmentally
blah, blah, blah.
delayed.
Yeah,
Yep.
and my 3-year-old came home with more
Developmentally
anxiety.
delayed.
Yeah, you
Mm-hmm. Ah, poor kid. But you know what?
I'm glad you got your
I'm sure
kids
you're
back
such
though.
an amazing parent. I'm sure you're an amazing parent. I'm sure that you're doing what you got to do to push through and make these kids back to being kids again. That's my biggest. I have a couple of my things on my list. They don't necessarily pertain to me, but they because of my wife. So one is I'm curious how women are, and there must be a study. How do women react after their child's been raised by another woman for a period of time? Like so if we go by what we say about the nature thing, if the bird falls or the whatever falls loose and you touch that animal and they smell you on it, they'll kick it away. They don't want it anymore. Like they reject it. So I wonder if moms have that same when your child comes home. Are you kind of resentful towards your child because your child's been raised by another woman? I don't think it's the same for dads. Like because the dad will never have the connection that a mom has with the child. Never. The dad can have an amazing relationship out, but like we'll never ever be able to enjoy that same you guys have of growing the child and being, birthing and all of those things. I'm in full agreement with, that women have that, but I'm just wondering if that is a thing. Is it a thing that that they face, like by having their, because I know it sucks when, when we would go to the foster family and you'd hear the child, like my daughter called the foster family dad is a kick in the nuts, you'll hear that like, man, but what? How about it, for mom? I know you wanted to say something, Tiff. What was it?
Well, I will say this. I think it depends on the woman. Like, I got along with my daughter's foster mom, but it wasn't because I liked her. It was because my daughter was there, right? So until
Mm-hmm.
she started bribing her and taking away her visits with me if she was bad or whatever the case may be. But with my other daughter, my other daughters, I should say, um, like their father's girlfriends, like you're gonna meet like Carlisa, the one we're going on the show with. I met her
Yeah.
when she was dating my youngest daughter's father and we became friends.
Oh
I
Jesus,
think it
really?
depends on the woman. Yeah, we've been friends for 27
Right.
years. Um,
Oh wow, that's crazy. That's funny as hell.
right. And I get along with my husband's one ex who's got a son with her. She's been to my house. It
Mm-hmm.
depends on the woman. If it really is about the kids, I think they should get along. But I will tell you this. My oldest daughter and my son's father, when I got out of prison, I met his girlfriend. And this is what I said to her. We're not going to have a problem as long as you don't put your hands on my kids. And my kids remember me telling her this. I said, because she's a big girl. I said,
Mm-hmm.
I will sink your fat ass like you're the Titanic. And I meant that.
We'll sink your fat ass like.
And I said it right in front of a CPS worker. And I dared her to say
Oh
anything.
man, that's funny as hell.
But after
Right,
that,
you know what? I'm
after I
gonna.
laid down the after I laid down the ground rules, I got along with her too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, everybody wanted to ride
Because
the Titanic.
hey, well, if she had put her hands on my kids, she'd have been sitting at the bottom of the ocean with the Titanic, and I meant that.
Tiffany, I wouldn't even want to put my hands on your grass, let alone your kids. Jesus Christ. I seen what happens when 15 sheriffs come to your house. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying. I know you pretty well, and you might be a little. You're a force to be reckoned with, no doubt about it. I'm glad I'm on this. I'm on. I'm glad I'm on this side of Georgia of you. You know what I mean? I'm on this side with you. So, um, it's just because I wouldn't want to be on that other side. Hell no. Just the intimidation of what you do is enough. Let alone that your actions that follow. Because it's not like it's all bark. You know what I mean? Hell, you'll blow shit up. You don't care.
I tell people
You know.
I retired in 1995. Don't make me come out of retirement.
That's right. Manure's free. Shit.
But I think it depends on the woman, honestly, because this is the thing. Some women just can't get along. And I get that because I'm going to tell you, I'm a woman. We're
A lot of
fucking
women can't
cruddy.
get
I'm
along.
just going to put it up there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're cruddy.
That's it. Mm-hmm. Women are. They are.
That's all I can
You
say.
put 5 women in a room. You put 5 women in a room together, 5 men in a room together. By the end of the 5 days, let's say 5 days, the men are coming out, best friends, high five, reading the Bible, whatever the hell they did. No women are coming out.
Oh, well,
They're
I'm coming
because they
out
killed each
and
other.
I'm going to be the leader of the pack.
I'm coming. You guys like gladiator camp in there for Tiffany. Jesus Christ. Unbelievable. Man. Well, what do you say, Tiff?
I say we see you on Monday.
All right. I say I'll see y'all tonight at 10 o'clock on CPS Victims Hunting Justice. I'm feeling good tonight, and I'm feeling like I think I can handle this. So, you know what?
And then you're off till
See you
Monday,
all
right?
tonight. Correct. And then I'm done for
Right?
Monday. But I'll see y'all tonight at 10 o'clock. And then for the rest of us, we'll be back here Monday, same time, same place, doing the same things we always have been, except for going to Georgia. All right, everybody, have a good season. Kids, don't let them in if they don't have more.
76, brave men put up a
Hi,
fight,
Tiff.
mowing down redcoats, they wanted freedom. They had to fight, and now we take the sacrifice in vain. They loaded their muskets, fired them one by one. That's why we have the freedom to own a gun, but we are blowing it. These freedoms were created by those before us. They were to be something that stays. But now things are so corrupted, they're taking our rights away. Hey, Uncle Sam, where did you go? I called Washington today, but nobody's home. We all want to stand for our freedom, but nobody wants to do it today. Can't you see time is a waste and the Constitution we love is fading? Make no tread on the reality, or the USA will be the next casualty. We are here for freedom, those we will protect. Unite for the values we cherish, or watch everything perish. Our men have fought for our freedoms, many women have too. Their blood spilled upon the ground, with the news many frown. They paid a price that many won't pay, now we are letting the cause fade away. The graves are being neglected by the actions of so many deceptive. The freedoms they fought for in every world war, conflict or mission, so many stayed behind signing petitions, while those away dying were there to protect them. It's time to wake up in the USA. We are all slipping away into the darkness we once ran from. It's getting worse every day. Now they are taking our children more and more every day. No soldier ever fought for taking our children away. This is not why they bled for our freedom. They didn't die for some cheap pay. We all need to come together, fight this corruption, and it starts today. We need to wake up America, go back to parades, remember true family values, laugh again as children play. These are the things we fought for, 200 years strong, but now we're losing all of this. Don't tread on me does exist. So rise up and be strong. We don't have to go along. We need to push back now, like our forefathers did. It's time to bring back the way it was, when families lived together, all that mattered was love. It's not all always easy to take back what they have grabbed. With all of us together we can do it. Two loving children and mom and dad. This is our country, it's called USA. So many have fallen, say don't tread on me today.
Margaret, so good to see you, hear from you, everything. Always have loved you. So yes, please join us tonight. CPS Victim for Injustice. 10 o'clock. Be there, be square. Let's get this done. Let's fight CPS, people.
It's getting worse.
Here we come, CPS.
Now they are country. When I began this battle, my soul was so damn fragile. I was looking at life through a fog. I lost my baby girl and they killed my dog. I was laying on the bottom feeling sad, thinking about doing bad things, raging fucking mad. I couldn't understand why I was chosen. Then it led to my raging explosion. I am the one who can make this better. It's my job to make things right. I need to pick myself up. It's time for my biggest fight. Wrap your kids in the Bible. Wrap your kids in the flag. CPS is from the devil. Y'all know that it's a fact. I'm a father that went to jail. I cherish my daughter. It was nothing when they come for her and me. There should have been a slaughter. Stand with us. Make parenting great again. Abolish CPS. Ambush with the black SUVs. They come armed, they came for me, and they came for her. Stand with us, make parenting great again, abolish CPS. They took her from me, she's across the state. Gone for a year now, taken away. All these people who have written me off, I'm here to show my face and tell you you're wrong. I never was as good as you, and for the record we know that's not true. I'm not trying for a comparison. How dare you, you're embarrassing. I don't wanna be as good as anyone else. I fight this battle, I fight for myself. I am the one who can make this better. It's my job to make things right. I need to pick myself up. It's time for my biggest fight. I don't care about your judgment, I'm glad you gave us this test. But when your life is over, will your heart sleep quietly in your chest? I've got more life to live. As a matter of fact, it's just beginning. I've been given a challenge and my daughter is waiting. It's a fight I can't walk away from, a new life we are creating. So why you sit there mouth full of hating? Be sure my mind is planning on invading. I've got a war to fight and I'm on. I won't give up, I need to win, this is bigger than you. I don't expect you to understand. I am the one who can start over. It's my job to make things right.